欢迎大家回来。今天是第165天。Welcome back, folks. This is day 165. Today's day 3 of unit 1, because we're in the new section 3. Did I have any... Oh, we did miss a couple things yesterday. We're gonna go right in to our recall. Right, 让我们开始吧。Unit 1. Okay, I have to write section 3 for another day. Okay. Chat with colleagues. It's kind of a weird chat, really. I kind of find it humorous because it's more like an argument about what's the best. Okay. And coworker stuff. So, 别忘, right? 别忘相信重要重要的会议会议问题解决办法 That's one I forgot yesterday. 办法 4 3办法And then we got peeps. 小姐。先生，先生。Oh, that's kind of gross looking. Try that again. 同事，同事。经理，经理。你自己很好，很好。离开，离开，下雨。It's random stuff that can randomly happen. Suddenly. I forgot this one yesterday. 투랑. 투랑. 투. Oh, I got it. Turan. 对，有钱 riches. Imagine being the richest. 多么 the phrase like 多么 in for emphasis. 多么贵啊，多么贵啊。I feel like I go down instead of up when you do that. Now we go to locations. 多长多长多有名有名 wrong tone 有名 all right, let's rattle them off. Locations. Changjiang. Huanhe. Xi'an. Pugong. Changchang. Okay. 熊猫 That was kind of terrible. Rongmao. 动物 right. Got the Yangtze River, Yellow River, Jiang. Right. Forbidden, the Great Wall and the Forbidden City. Pandas. I think we're good. Okay, so section 2, units 46. Not that one. What topic was it? Not decision making. Talking about clothing. Talking about classes. No. Talking about classes. It's so difficult to remember the topic. What did I write yesterday? Better. Oh, it's describing environment, right? Whoa. Wushoguan. Guanjing. 环境外面天象太阳哦 the last stroke 星星it's gross. Let's try again. Tall. Tall. Calmant. Yeah, no, that's okay.垃圾Wait. Uh-oh. No. It's one.垃圾桶水桶丢方便垃圾forgot this yesterday 脏诶okay. 进去安静说话的乡音乡音不太大 影响影响影响 mess this one up today, I think. I forgot the subtract 影响影响邻居邻居邻居其他人从从楼向下向去向来下去下来I think that's it. Not too bad. Chinese always goes quite a bit quicker at this point right now. You're currently learning French and then you're using Bushu? Oh, thanks. Keep going. Yeah. Velasquez. Sorry, Velasquez. Yeah, French. French is great. Big macro language. Oh, we'll eventually get to a Romance language ourselves too with Spanish. Yeah, keep up the good work. 加油。頑張ろう。頑張ろう。
你们不会给我打电话。
Alright. 你们不会给我打电话。Okay. Okay, you won't call me, fine. I was like, you didn't call me. Okay.
你
我会给你打电话。打电话。
我每天开车去公司。
去公司。Okay.
开车去那儿只要1个半小时。
开车去那儿只要1个半小时。That's what they said. So 开车去那儿只要1个半小时。Yeah, driving there only takes 1.5 hours.
你吃猪肉还是鸡肉？
你吃猪肉还是鸡肉？ How long have I been learning Japanese for? 269 days. I think the average has gone down because we are splitting it with Chinese. So 4 hours. And then we practice the rest of the time. So when it comes to learning, it's kind of restricted to the streaming thing. So 269 days times 4. So I think we're over 1,000 hours. Oh no. This is why we stream, you know? Or at least this is why I stream. I can't really speak for other people. Yeah. You're more than welcome to ask away. How are you doing with French? How long have you been using Bushu? Are you a language learner by profession? Is this a hobby? What interests you about language learning? And French, for that matter, you know? I'm kind of like going from general to more specific here with the questions. 你吃鸡肉还是你吃猪肉还是鸡肉？
我喜欢吃这个猪肉饭。
我喜欢我喜欢
吃
这个猪肉饭。
猪肉饭。
你要喝咖啡还是喝茶？
你要喝咖啡还是喝茶 ？OK。Oh, other way around.
你想去西班牙旅游还是日本旅游？
你想去西班牙旅游还是日本旅游？
还是日本旅游？你想去西班牙旅游还是日本旅游？
你有点高。
你有点高。
房间。
猪肉。桌子。
面条。苹果。
Oh, they're selecting a user name is hard. I see.
他有点矮。
他有点矮。对，矮。Thanks. How are you? User name. I drive the company every day.
每天
我开车去公司。Whoops, not see 公司。
下个月我要去北京，现在得买机票。
You've been using Bushu for like 3 months? Okay, solid. Still beginner. There's a thing, yeah, comprehensible input. Have I heard of it? I have. You're learning French mainly because you want to land a better job. Oh, that's interesting. Why am I streaming my study sessions? Keeps you motivated? I'm streaming my study sessions for posterity, but largely I talk about education and learning and habit formation. So this is mainly for posterity recording or for observational witness. Comprehensible input is quite nice. I imagine French being such a large such a large macro language. I'm sure there are graded readers. In terms of Japanese, there are graded readers. Graded readers are a product of the comprehensible input theory a lot of times. In fact, the person who really champions comprehensible input has their own line of graded readers, but they're specifically dealing with English, like acquiring English as a second language. In terms of Chinese, there are graded readers. It's a paid service, and that's okay. I'm not really interested in it at the moment. And yeah, and of course, I'm sure you and I are both on the same page that Bushu and Duolingo are using SRS, which is the other collective component, right? You mix a bit of SRS, maybe some immersion-based practice along with your comprehensible input. There are obviously easy listening stuff that kind of apply the comprehensible input method, where you try to listen to someone who speaks at a certain level, like they deliberately speak at a certain level. So those most of the times, comprehensible input kind of feels more like practicing than active exposure through SRS. So, what you will see me streaming is usually just exposed. So Duolingo for now. There are plans for alternative ways. Generally speaking, developing your skills using a tool is why I record these and stream these things. And then the major motivation for streaming the study sessions is to exchange ideas and approaches, not necessarily for for learning or help. It's more the intellectual exchange of methods or intellectual discussions regarding people's experiences with language learning. I don't usually stream. This is the first time we're streaming something that's involved directly in what people constitute as learning. However, my video game sessions and whatnot, I've been like I'm already past like 6 years. When I'm playing video games, this is the very same approach. You're recording the activity for legacy, and then using the public forum as a way to exchange ideas. I like observing and interacting with behavior as opposed to the language learning itself. The language learning itself is a hobby for the most part. Learning education, like behavioral executive function stuff, is probably what I do most often. In terms of motivation, that's an interesting question. I would say the act of learning is motivation enough, so I don't usually have to concern myself with any outside source of motivation. What kind of video games am I into? Most of the time, it's interest-based based on whatever's topical at the moment. However, when there's nothing that fills the void, we typically pick up an indie game, a tracking indie game of some sort. Like, for example, the current project that is on hold at the moment, and I have to get back into it, is Cobalt Core. It's a roguelike deck builder game with a one-access movement system. And that's kind of the theme right now. The next game is probably finishing the next project's probably finishing the project for Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. I left the Japanese and the Chinese playthrough on hold because I'm learning Chinese and Japanese. And then in February, it's probably Like a Dragon Yakuza Pirates. That's in time for the next game in the Like a Dragon series, which was the inspiration for formally learning Japanese and Mandarin, because Like a Dragon series are dubbed with 3 casting crews: an English, a Japanese, and a Chinese voice acting crew. So that's kind of a way to integrate language learning into the whole video game thing, right? So you mentioned that you're learning French mainly because you want to land a better job. That's interesting. Do you reside in France? How may I ask, how does that work when it comes to learning French? I don't do anything professionally at the moment, so most of my experience comes from vicarious story collection from other people.
下个月我要去北京，现在得买机票。
下个月我要去北京。现在的买机票。下个月 现在的买我要去 That's fine. No, actually you live in Guatemala. Interesting. But the call center industry offers well-paying jobs, especially if you speak more than 3 languages. Oh, well, that's an interesting way to go about things. Interesting. You know, here's something interesting. The CEO, the founder, and still the current CEO of Duolingo is Guatemalan. I don't know if you knew that. Van Dam is Guatemalan, as far as I know. So what are the? So I'm guessing Spanish of some sort, or is your other macro language? Cap off has Spanish, and man, English, Spanish, French, that does accommodate the vast majority of the macro language influence. So that's pretty good if you're already Spanish competent and English. You can see how that goes a long way. Yeah, he also created the captcha thing, kind of annoying though. Yeah, true that. Yeah, well, that's very proactive. It's very nice to be someone who knows the 3 biggest like secondary exposure language, the 3 macros. Huh. So you're just starting now. How has French been treating you? I know someone on the other side. I know someone who's been using Bushu for Spanish for quite some time now, and she seems to find it enjoyable and sustainable. Any advice you can give me when it comes to language learning and being committed to the whole process? Oof. And I don't have enough experience to confidently say much. However, conservatively, you don't happen to have, is French a thing in Guatemala? When it comes to like the active language learning, obviously, when it comes to language learning itself, like the competence of language learning, my experience is only limited to what I have done so far in terms of self-study, right? In terms of self-study. However, I do feel like one of the common patterns when it comes to people who maybe express burnout per se, right? Burnout is, when it comes to self-study, I feel like maximizing sources of motivation is without a doubt easier said than done. Of course, easier said than done. I can offer some anecdotal things that I used myself most of the time. I'm someone who likes to do skill building. I'm a very classical skill builder. So most of the time, my approach to language learning is very similar to my approach to skill building. And at the moment, the current things that I'm doing is I tend to separate a bit between when I am learning and when I am practicing. And this might not be too germane at the moment if you feel like your fundamentals are not enough to feel comfortable with practicing. But I'm at a point where learning is a time where I would say I need stamina, right? I need stamina, be very well rested. So I tend to engage in learning prior to engage in practicing. And it's true that when you do Bushu and when you do SRS, there's going to be components of learning and practicing, which I group together as studying, right? The study is the active learning and processing and practicing. But generally, SRS, the goal is to get sufficient learning. And what is that sufficient learning? For me, I've normalized the Duolingo thing. So, sorry, excuse me. In terms of the learning part, I'm trying to acquire 20 plus elements. So that those elements could be anything. Like grammar points, whatever the unit suggests, whatever Bushu suggests, right? You take those elements and you're going to develop a more or less you want to collectively develop in association to all of them. So what does that look like? For example, in this unit, this is personalized practice. In this unit, the elements were talking to colleagues or talking to colleagues. So they introduce about, I'm going to say 25 vocabulary words, and then they reuse about 30 Hanzi characters, and then I think there's 9 new Hanzi characters. So whenever I'm learning, right, I take those things. So in a session, and these numbers are arbitrary, they're to me. You're going to have different numbers and different thresholds. So the idea is when you finish your learning, so your exposure for the first time, this is not practice, but learning for the first time. At the end of the session, however much time you have, you're going to have to fill it out. Usually like 15 minutes does well for some people, 30. I'm 2 hours. Mine is 2 hours. At a minimum of 2 hours per like Chinese and Japanese. So I felt this out. I'm like, okay, 2 hours. It used to be like 4. So you calm down to create sustainability. And then after the session, you're going to do a recall. I typically do a recall. So basically, if Bushu has like a master list or something, Duolingo has like a grid thing. And what I do is I create a story or create a stencil, whichever stencil is up to you, like outline, like note taking back in school, outline, connect the dots, do categorization, make a makeshift story where it's incomplete, but you can connect all the dots. Like, for example, if there's a vocabulary that says Mrs., like 小, right? 小姐, right? 小姐. And I got another thing, 先生, which is Mr. So these two are connected, right? These two are connected. So and I will remember it connected like that. So if I remember 小姐, I remember 先生, and you connect these. So what happens is you're actively constructing a way to organize the elements, exclude it into the learning. So just the new things, trying to encapsulate just the new things the first time, categorize them. So then tomorrow or the day after, immediately after you, like when you rest, before you go back to learning, right before you go back to learning, you're going to do an active recall. This is basically trying to see if your categorization yesterday, and you do your best to reproduce that, right? Because it's something you made, something you know that you have reliable connections with. And then you place like holes where you don't remember and then refine it the next day, then the next day. What happens, in my opinion, is this produces active construction. And it allows you to kind of give an idea of practicing things that you have learned. And in a way, I feel like that part, once normalized, makes you excited. It makes you excited to practice. So then you go to the next step. And what I have been doing now is that during my learning process, you do this routine. However, once the learning goes off, right, I still have the rest of my day, like the other day, the rest of my day. So what do? I take all of these constructs that I have and I find them in my daily life. So not learning, practicing. So if I pull up a video that I like, right? I like a Japanese video, for example. And my only goal now, my main focus, you still do a little bit of learning in context. My main goal is to see if any of my like constructs that I've made shows up in the content I consume already. So if you're not already in the habit of watching French material and whatnot, that might be another step before this. When I started learning Japanese or Chinese, I already consumed Japanese and Chinese media. So that I didn't need to develop a lifestyle around it. It was already part of my lifestyle. That would be the first stage, right? While you're learning with your SRS and making sure your learning stays a part of your life to be consistent, slowly developing habits that integrate French into your normal habit. It doesn't have to be literally French material. I would say when you get up and you're like having breakfast, ask yourself how you describe the breakfast in French. And substitute your whatever other words that you don't have yet. Like say, oh, I am drinking coffee, right? 我现在喝咖啡, right? So at some point I didn't know, I only knew cafe and 喝, right? 喝咖啡, and then we got 我, then 现在. So eventually, after you say it enough, like you're going through the days, you're gonna fill in the blocks yourself. So that is the routine that I would say keeps one motivated, but also reduces the feel like you're forcing yourself to do these things. So slow and steady steps, right? You can start it from day one. Hey, I've learned 3 French words. Where in my life do those 3 French words come up, right? And then 4, 5, and eventually you get up and all you think about is 起床, right? 起床 to get up from bed. So 我现在起床, 早上, you know, 早上, like in the morning, right? 早上, sun, right? I just got 太阳 for sun. So when I go out, I see 草, right? 草, grass. So these are all the new vocabulary words in this unit that I'm trying to get into it. Like 我出去跑步, 看了草, 还是 or 和太阳在天里, right? So I walked out of the house to run. I see grass, I see the sun in the sky, right? So that kind of thing becomes very normal. And the idea is you can always substitute back your words. So in my opinion, using your native language is a stopgap And whenever you use your native language, you get an idea of which words that you're looking for in French for normal discussion and Japanese. So I find myself saying like, oh, there are, and then other language. And so I'm using there are a lot, which would motivate you to find, oh, how do I say there are in these contexts? So that's kind of where that is. And the practicing gives you an idea of what you want to know, what you want to know. And I think that when you compartmentalizing learning, or sort of separating them like with a focus, with an intent from your learning session, when you're practicing, you're writing down what you want to know, like making a list or something, what you want to know. And at some point, when you get the opportunity to learn, even if you're using SRS, when those words come up, you're like, yes, I finally got this word. It's on my list. It's like top 10 frequency of words that keep saying, I don't know how to say this yet. I don't know how to say this yet. And it goes back and forth. So this is the current type of cycle that I'm going through with my thing. When I'm not learning, I'm not focused on learning while practicing. I am practicing to find out what I want to learn. And that gives me motivation to keep me learning. As in, you're practicing all the things you know, so you're not really like stressed out. You're not like, oh, I don't have to worry about that. Like that word, I don't really know what that word is. And then you know some of this, oh, this person's kind of saying something like this. That's cool. I can understand some of that. Now the question is, what else do you want to learn? It's like, I really want to know why this situation kind of thing. And you make a mental note of it, or you literally write it down somewhere, right? Nowadays, it can be so routine that you don't have to. And you look forward to learning then, right? That's kind of the idea. You have to, in my opinion, all these numbers are arbitrary. The very specific ways of doing it is arbitrary, obviously. What this does is, and I want to emphasize this, when you're doing learning, like in a study session, like comprehensible input, be it SRS, combined with immersion, I think a lot of times these are treated as they are going to be unnatural way of learning. I know this might contrast with a lot of other people that say, well, immersion is natural. We're not, so I can't spell natural. Natural, I'm talking about from the perspective of your lifestyle. So more of an executive function perspective. When you're learning, most people are learning in an unnatural way. As in, when you go on Bushu or Duolingo, it is unnatural for you to do that. You are making specific time out of your schedule, out of your lifestyle to do that. And some people take immersion as a generalization too, like, oh, they're forcing themselves to watch specific content appropriate for their language learning. That is still outside their lifestyle. It's closer to their lifestyle. And then, you know, the story you hear all the time, if you move to a country and you're forced to learn that, that's developing a new lifestyle with your target language. So it's efficacious and really great because it becomes your lifestyle because you're obligated to. So now, if you don't want to move to France, or I don't want to move to Japan, what is the closest way to develop a lifestyle? Separate your learning process, in my opinion, or attempt to reserve knowing that you need energy, right? You need energy, you need all the motivation to go into learning. So in my opinion, maximizing ways to incentivize why you want to learn and going into it is the way you extract the most information. And then every other time you're practicing, you're trying to find ways to make it part of your life. So for me, people ask, actually someone that I know asks me all the time, like, did I get a chance to speak Japanese or Chinese? I do it every day. whether there's a person or not. I do it every day. Do you think in Chinese or Japanese? I do it every day. And then, you know, someone might be a little bit more specific, saying, do you only think in Japanese or Chinese? The answer is no. I think in my target language and I think in my native language. I code swap all the time because if you want to be multilingual, you think in both languages anyways. And obviously you already speak probably Spanish and English. I speak a different dialect at home with my folks. It's Fujianese and it's kind of resembling Mandarin. However, it's unintelligible. And the reason why I'm saying this is that's my social norm. So for other people who are multilingual, I feel like it's a social norm and very relatable to know that it takes a lot of effort to force yourself to segregate the languages. So instead, I take this approach where I tend to meld the language. Whatever I learn in Chinese and Japanese, I'm thinking in English. If I'm learning Japanese, I'm thinking in Chinese and English now. When I'm learning Chinese right now, I'm thinking in Japanese and English. Actually, it's a little bit more convenient to think in Japanese while learning Chinese and vice versa because of their writing system. So when I'm trying to gather these like radicals in writing, I cannot defer to my Germanic language, right, to English. So that's kind of a really longer-ish answer. And it doesn't provide any direct examples. I think the people that are most successful or consistent are ones who have found a way to incentivize themselves to want to learn. Money is great. I mean, like, good job is, getting a better pay is certainly a great motivation. And I don't have that, right? I'm actually not doing this as an aspiration for being paid. So I would argue that having the obligation to be job related is a great motivator already, and it's got to be part of your life. So finding really weird ways to make it a part of your life is fantastic. If you play video games like I do, bumbling through a video game with French UI sounds like a hoot and a half, right? When you're not concerned with completing a game, but more concerned with seeing how to practice using a game in a target language, at least in my opinion. So that's where I am now. I think a lot of times most people start by making the unnatural part of their routine be most of their time. So like the time you're trying to form a new habit. Forming a new habit in isolation, in my opinion, in terms of habit formation, is gigantic. It is an incredibly gigantic, monumental excess. Like, it requires a lot of motivation that you have to generate through your normal lifestyle, right? And in the long run, if you most people who are incredibly successful achieve that. They don't necessarily have to make it easy. For those who eventually stop, is in my opinion largely due to the inability to make it a regular part of their lifestyle. Like for me, I don't end a day without studying Japanese and Chinese. It's like part of my routine. It's practically my bloodline now. Like when I pull up a video game, I'm like, I could study a little Japanese or Chinese. And then like when I'm watching a video, I'm like, I could also listen to this in Chinese and Japanese, right? So I will like cycle through them. So I think microdosing, combining, changing the way you're able to do your normal stuff with French is fantastic. If you like to cook, go learn some French about cooking, right? Or let Bushu teach you something and then hold on to all the words that you want. It's like, oh, now I can say, I don't know, baguette. Every time you have a baguette. I don't know any French. I'm sorry. I don't have quite. I think the closest I can get is all the French facsimiles in English, like nonchalant, right? Nonchalant is my closest word that I use a lot. Yeah. Hopefully that gives you some inspiration. I do not require any more motivation. Even using Duolingo as my primary learning session, because I think the most fun part, like personal anecdote, what motivates me the most is coming up with new ways to engage myself that a tool does not provide. So Duolingo does certain things like the streak system and all that stuff, but all this stuff that I'm speaking about is my passion. So whenever I have to learn and skill build something, I built this stuff. Yeah. I'm sure that's not sure if that's what you wanted to hear, but or like if there was something interesting in there. However, I really want to impress upon people that in the long run, being as creative as possible with your learning process, it's a forward investment. You invest in the way you learn, and pretty much, in my opinion, it will return on any skill that you require building. In my opinion, that's actually useful. Thank you. I'm trying to take in everything you just said. I'm using Anki. Yeah, Anki is a great SRS source. Would you say that's a useful tool? I haven't used Anki myself. However, when Anki has a very useful SRS system to keep track of things. So if you're not into, I think it's a useful program, right? It's a useful tool. Pretty much, if you're gonna ask me about any tool, I think if tools exist, they're useful, right? They're useful to someone. So by default, any tools that currently exist is probably useful. Now the question is, are you able to take what that tool is doing for you and do it yourself at some point, right? So Anki and Bushu, as far as I know, actually somewhat differs in their way of approach. Por cierto, mi idioma materna es español. Oh, okay, that's fair enough. No worries. What I would say is that I would ask myself, right? I would ask myself, even if I don't use Anki or Bushu, when I go into Bushu, what does Anki do for me? So like, what is Anki doing for you? Like, what works? What works about Anki? And you take that, and then you go to Bushu and say, what works with Bushu, right? When you establish that, then you might focus on what is missing. What is missing, right? When you're evaluating if a tool is useful. So what is missing? Like, what do you want? What else do you want? Right? And then you ask yourself in Anki, does Bushu give that to you? Does Bushu cover what is missing in Anki? And then vice versa. Like, what is Bushu missing that Anki has? Or like the reverse. And then when you make a list, at some point, you'll know what works for you, right? And then you're coming up with ideas that are missing. The question you ask yourself is, can you do it yourself? Can you do these things, whatever they might be? because I obviously don't know how you study, right? So if not, if you can't, like you're saying like, no, I don't know how to do this, you're going to be looking for another tool, right? Another tool to help with that. If it's yes, then you can do it. You can do it while you're using Anki and Bushu. And that's what I do. Duolingo, there are a lot of things Duolingo don't do by design. And then there are a lot of things that Duolingo can do. The things that it can't do, I have to figure out if I can do them. Like, for example, Duolingo has not the greatest SRS layout, right? So how do I remind myself of how much I remember, how much I practice? So I do that myself. And also another, once you're gather all this, right? You got all that you need while you're doing this, there's an alternative. Then that you know what all of these tools can do, what all of these tools can do, can you start to do it yourself? Can you start to do it yourself? Now, the answer is you also have to ask yourself, do you want to, right? Do you want to do it? If the answer is no, then continue using Anki, Bushu, and whatever to cover up all the things you want. For me, I tend to try to find tools that say I need three things. I need three things, like 1, 2, and 3. I need these three things to keep on learning, to keep on doing well, right? And it can change. It can increase to 4 things and 5 things, because I'm always thinking about what I need and what I can do. When I get those tools, if A does 1 and B does 2, right? And then C does 3, then I have all the tools that I need to gather all the things I currently think I need, right? Or want. Now the question is, can I learn from A how to do 1 and 3 at the same time with tool C? And when I'm using tool C, can I also be doing it during tool B? So the things that I'm doing in Duolingo are things that I'm taking from other tools. And then when I'm doing something else, I'm learning the skills the tools are supposed to be replacing. So in the future, right? In the future, like for Anki, for example, it's a flashcard system, which I haven't ever seen myself. I saw people using Anki, so it's kind of like a flashcard system. What I do is when I have a new word, I make the flashcards myself. So at the end of Duolingo, the thing I was describing about, you get to a new unit, they're going to introduce like 20 new things. Those 20 new things are going to be arranged in a way that I can remember them. And that's the same as having multiple flashcards related to each other. So how many things do I need to remember about this word A for me to remember? Is it the relationship with B? Is it the way it looks, the way it sounds? So I am doing what Anki would probably do for me most of the time. The thing is, I tend to try to do as much as I can myself. If I'm already able to. The reason why I like that is because I'm making the effort, right? And my flashcards are my own. So these are my flashcards. Now I'm talking about this in like an imaginary standpoint. Like what's in my head is my flashcards. How do I know this is working? is I challenge myself. I review each day, right? I do the active recall each day to make sure that I remember and the things are working. If it stops working, I might say, oh yeah, I have too much material. Maybe I can use a tool that does this so I can save time. As in, like, there's something I don't want to do anymore or don't want to practice. So I feel if you're experimenting with tools, go for it, right? Because if you're not used to learning in different ways, tools are fantastic. People spend years making these tools. So you get to learn how they teach material. And that material, how they teach, you can learn how to do that yourself, right? And that's like, one day, if you learned enough languages, you can create a product too, right? That's kind of how that works out. When how Pimsleur, for example, how Pimsleur became a thing is that they took their experiences on how they learned and turned it into a product or turned it into a service. So for me, the things I'm talking about now is a combination of my educational background. I had to learn about science, lots of different disciplines of science, and they required a lot of different ways of learning. And so when I'm looking at Duolingo, I look at what it does, but it's like half the time, like half of the, or even less, half of the things I'm gathering, I brought in myself. So you yourself can be a great learner without necessarily being dependent on the tool. My favorite thing to do is I try out new tools when I have time and see if I can learn how they teach it, right? So then one day when you go to learn how to, I don't know, learn another language, for example, if you go and learn another language, then you can do whatever you want. Pick up a book, however you want to do it. You'll probably be able to do it, right? I think feeling like you can, that comfort, being comfortable about saying, oh yeah, I'll just pick up, let's just pick up German tomorrow. Like, okay, so what tools do I have available? Okay, I'll pick 1, 2, 3. That covers what I need, right? That covers what I need. And then using that as a starting point, let's see if we develop new things. So over time, in my opinion, your learning improves. It doesn't have to be language learning. It can be learning science, learning physics, learning math. What happens now is you spend most of your time figuring out what you need to be motivated, what you need to continuously making sure that you are having progress, and then how you can keep developing your learning strategies. So being interested in the way you learn and how other people teach you, I think is incredibly rewarding. So definitely go out and continue looking at different other people's ideas and then basically like stealing them and taking the best part of the ideas, and then eventually you'll come up with your own study program, in my opinion. And that study program will keep you consistent, or will likely keep you consistent, because it's your study program. It's not just anyone's study program. Definitely, it all starts with finding tools that keep you consistent, and then working with the idea that, why do these tools work? Why do you like Anki so much? Why do you like Bushu so much? Right? Could you pick up a textbook and make the textbook use what Anki and Bushu does well, right? That to me is the best part of knowing how you learn, because one day, at least in my opinion, When someone gives me a tool and they ask me, do you think this is useful? I'm going to tell you, well, regardless of the results, I think the tool will probably be useful because I'll make it useful. I'll make something of the tool. You give me a hammer, I'll make something with the hammer. You give me, Anki, I'll make it useful. Whether it's like the best thing or the worst thing or what not, it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. It'll be engaging, that kind of thing. So I think that is a necessary mindset to learning a language or learning a life skill, right? Keeping yourself healthy, like being, going to sleep better. Every day you're going to work on how to get sleep better. Like if you're sleeping poorly now, every single day, you're looking at how other people sleep. Be invested in improving your sleep little by little. Your diet, for example. Be interested in improving your diet over time, as opposed to like dropping your life and creating an unnatural environment, right? One last thing I would probably say is one of the biggest, maybe I'll say it in quotes, one of the biggest traps, or maybe like perhaps pitfalls in terms of developing a life skill, or a skill that will be probably there for the rest of your life, right? For the rest of your life, is starting by abandoning everything you've already done. What I mean by this is one likes to learn, like for example, language learning. I disagree with a lot of people, so you might want to get like a second opinion and stuff. I start with what I know about myself. I look for tools and other things based on what I know about myself, not what other people know about their experience. I will still use the same information, but the idea is I know myself better than the stranger that's giving blanketed advice that don't know you, right? So many people, what they try to do is they try to create a habit out of thin air. And oftentimes, this habit is using the initial motivation that they have, right? Which is great, because some people have so much motivation in the beginning, eventually this becomes a habit. Whether that, like, they willed the habit into being. Like, I know this is so tiring. Like, all right, let's get back to studying. I have to do 30 minutes a day. Eventually, they have enough motivation to keep going. Like, they go to a point where it's no longer a unnatural event in their life. It becomes a natural event, which is a habit. So now every day is like 30 minutes. Like, oh, I don't remember the last time I didn't look forward to it. Like, why did I think 30 minutes was a long time to study? And then they start studying for 40 minutes, for 50 minutes. That's great, right? That's hard, though. That's really hard. Personally, what I did, what oftentimes habit people, habit formation. Now we're talking about like therapy, right? Habit formation, like therapy. Generally, you take what you know. So what are the things you already do that you do without even thinking? Like, you do a lot of things right now. As anyone who has lived long enough, you do a lot of things that you love to do, like, or you just do regularly without even thinking about it. You get up, eat. So what if you can understand or be creative in a way that you can make the stuff that you already do, that you love to do, like playing video games. How do you convert playing video games into, how do you make like learning French like you're playing a video game? Or maybe your job is your major concern. How do you make French feel like speaking English in your job? How do you make you know, French feel like Spanish whenever you speak? I don't know what that is. For me, if I continue to slowly play video games and watch the content that I want as though it's a replacement for my English or my, Chinese / Japanese, that kind of thing, then I've achieved it. It's a thing that I know I already do. I already watch anime. I already listen to my parents talking Mandarin and Fujianese all the time. So those are the things that make it so that you don't necessarily need all the motivation to work. And I think that's what Duolingo does, and that's what Bushu does. Bushu and Duolingo provides some sort of semblance of reward. And that reward is often the actions that you take, like eating that tub of ice cream, for example. It's effortless to eat a tub of ice cream because you're rewarded with the sensation of eating ice cream. Sorry if you don't like ice cream. I just pick ice cream as a blanketed statement. And not concerned, not necessarily concerned about performance first, right? I know people will get on my case about it. Thanks, Devlo. If you're concerned about performance, right, that comes later, in my opinion. Performance, in my opinion, comes later. I can't spell performance, but you know what I mean. First is to establish the habit, and slow, steady, small steps, right? You're not gonna run a marathon in one day. You're gonna run maybe 1 mile a day, and then tomorrow, like in another month, you might run 1 mile and 1.1 miles. So you're building on things that isn't going to push you through an unnatural state, at least in my opinion. Unnaturally pushing yourself really hard, you can do that. I've seen, there are a lot of people who are successful in that way. I think it has a lower chance of succeeding for everyone. Like, slow progress is very sustainable, provided you base it on things you already know. So whenever I talk to people about establishing like a study habit or routine, I start by asking them, so what do you do already? How do you study now? Anything. If you had to learn how to fix your television set, how do you go about doing it? Can that be used? Are you able to capture whatever way you're doing it now and then work on making it different, work on building it up, right? So when it comes to this stuff, Duolingo works because gamification. It's something that most of the audience is already familiar with it. So it makes that consistent. Bushu is very similar. The gamification thing is a very universally liked internet related behavioral response. For me, gamification is great. I think I have far more other ways that entertains myself. Like, I like being goofy and speaking half Japanese, half Chinese, and English. So I do it all the time. So I don't have a problem practicing Chinese or Japanese, since I have already developed the habit of doing so. if you wanted to end up speaking French or, you know, Spanish or English, yeah, coming up with clever ways of getting yourself to speak, great. Like singing, lots of people choose music a lot of times, like translating French songs, or in my case, the examples would be translating Japanese songs or translating Chinese songs. And I dabbled in that too. Like one song I really like, you can learn so much from one song that you really like, right? And there's no shortage of Spanish music. I'm gonna be revisiting my Spanish in the near future. So that's probably a good place to stop. About that, yeah. No direct answers, obviously, and since you're gonna be using French for work, it'll be for the rest of your life. It's worth slowly making it a regular part of your life. Having a friend is great, you know, having a friend that speaks French. I'm not sure if Guatemala has a lot of French speakers. My Japanese and Mandarin, my family is Chinese, and Japanese, pretty much anything I do entertainment wise is in Japanese. So one day I'm just gonna flip. My games are gonna be in Japanese, they're gonna be in Chinese, they're gonna be in English. It's a normal day. Everything's a normal day. Yep. Also, form of encouragement, right? If no one's telling you you're doing a great job, I think finding some way to get that interaction is great. Like, I think is really impressive. I think it's very impressive that you're going to speak 3 languages. It's fantastic. I think sometimes having someone tell you that is sufficient. Whether it's like meaningful or not, like as a stranger to a stranger, I think also having positive feedback is great. And that's awesome that even with 2 languages, you're willing to learn a 3rd language. For me, it's the same feeling. Honestly, you hadn't thought of that. I might have to change your approach to learning French. Fair enough. I don't know anyone who's learning French right now, but finding other people who connect you with other people who are willing to like be goofballs and stuff, that's a great way if you don't have access to like someone who knows French and English. Although I do have to admit, French and English kind of goes hand in hand a lot of times. Yeah, glad you stumbled on it. So I stream every day. Yeah, my schedule is, this is late for me. And you're in Guatemala, right? We're about semi. I usually stream like 6 to 7 hours ago. So I do evenings in EST. I try my best to stay between 3 and whenever I end. So it's usually 3. It's after 3 p.m. And if you like people like you and other people who like talk about things, then it goes really late. It goes like super late. Generally, it doesn't matter to me about where I get in the lesson because I'll eventually get it done. You don't have to worry about that. I stream because I like to talk to people about their like motivations and stuff. If you ever get like demotivated, I would love to hear about it. Like what's causing your demotivation or what's causing your burnout. That's kind of the thing. It's like for you, as you might have had to head out in a couple of minutes. Where do I live? I live in the east, the northeast of the USA, in the United States. So I'm on the East Coast. You probably, wow, my geography is terrible. So I live in this region up here. This is supposed to be Florida. I live in the East Coast. This is the Atlantic Ocean. wait. Let me like include Texas. So I think we have a 1 hour difference, probably a 1 hour difference when it comes to time. Or it might be the same time zone, actually. I think we might be in the same time zone. I don't know how time zones work in Central America. Yeah, I'll probably be doing the same thing for Spanish. So, I know a lot of people know Spanish, at least in this time zone. So I'm looking forward to interacting with all the Spanish speakers. Spanish was my school. Spanish was my second learned language. Like second, it was my first school language that I learned. It's not that great anymore. Like it's barely passable. It's good enough to like talk in video games. Like when there's a Spanish speaker who's like typing in video games, like okay, that's good enough. It kind of looks like for the most normal depiction of word, to be fair, since everything is strange. No, yeah. I'm in the north side of the United States, so it's kind of weird. Yeah. Yeah, French. I will have to pick your brain about Spanish for sure. In the future. Yeah, right now I'm gonna tell you now that after Duolingo, I'm already thinking about other ways to interact. So I'm gonna use LLMs in the future. So like I'm sure you're familiar with like ChatGPT related news and whatnot. I'm going to be doing that because it's fun. It's a different way of learning that I haven't ever done. I haven't ever interacted with an LLM. So I gotta learn to see how I can learn from LLM. And then so forth and so forth. My favorite thing about learning new skills is to learn the technology that is around the learning and then see if I can do it myself. Like, oh yeah, okay, I don't need the LLM anymore, right? Like I don't need another thing, that kind of thing. Flashcards, the last time I used flashcards were like a flashcard type system for learning. I think I was 13 years old. Maybe 13 years old. And it probably went to like 15 years old. Then I stopped. I do something else a little bit beyond flashcards. So keep on building the different tools. You know? It's pretty neat. By the way, I appreciate the conversation. How do you find Anki right now? How's Anki working for you? Since you started Anki. For Japanese and Chinese, actually specifically Japanese, Anki is like a big discussion. Like people who love and champion, in general, the sentiments are very good for Japanese in terms of Anki. I personally have not used Anki. I imagine I could use it in a certain way. I might use something in a different way, Anki in a different way in the future. My plan for Anki is somewhere down the line I might make cards for Anki. So what I mean by that is I will learn stuff when I'm practicing, right? Watching videos and stuff, and then I'll make cards in Anki. And that's it. I won't use Anki to learn from the cards. I will make the cards to learn the stuff. I like making stuff. So if you actively make something, you are also practicing and learning that. You have a Japanese deck that you bought from a company, Refold. Oh no worries. We're not there yet for the whole deck thing. It's perfectly all right. In the future, what I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna make my own cards, like a scratchbook or something. Like I like making things to learn, so we'll probably make cards and make decks ourselves. You know, we'll put in like my drawing or something, like a weird drawing. We'll put like, you know, I'll draw a tree, but then I'll put like a little guy in it, hiding among the trees, you know, right? That kind of thing to remind me of stuff. Gotta want to create. A plane ticket to Italy is too expensive.
去意大利
去意大利
的
的
机票
机票太贵了。
了。
Okay. I mean, Anki's been useful. You've learned plenty of stuff, but you definitely try to do more things like reading, writing, and a little bit of shadowing. Yeah. That sounds like you got a idea of how you're gonna go about things. I like that. How are you gonna go and do reading? I think when you mentioned CI, comprehensible input, when doing reading, graded readers are a great thing. So if you already read about it, I'm sure graded readers have come to your list. I write everything already. So by default, I write. I write before I start my Duolingo session, and I write after. So most of my characters and understanding how to learn Japanese and Chinese is dealing with literal writing. And then at the end of stuff, I construct and try to construct stories in my head on my own. Kind of like a more of a figurative writing situation. Shadowing, I haven't done yet. It'll be interesting for the shadowing process.
你们看过那本书吗？
你们看过那本书吗？ French is kind of similar to Spanish and English in a way, so it's easier to read. I'm still a noob, obviously. Nah, you got this. No need to worry about being a beginner or anything. If you're motivated, you're already past the hump, in my opinion. If you're excited now and you never lose that excitement, it's irrelevant whether you're new or old. That spirit, in my opinion, that spirit will take you a long way, along for the ride. It's a journey, right? So keeping your spirits up, that's what, in my opinion, will pave the road. There are noobs, you know, new people and old people alike that can express negative sentiments, like saying like, oh, like for example, I could ask someone, how are you doing, right? You've already mentioned, that's why I've already asked you these questions. How are you doing? And then the person, depending on what the person says, I don't want to be a little bit presumptuous, but I tend to try to turn the person's perspective or like encourage the person, because oftentimes the person's like, oh, you know, I've been studying for 3 months, but I need to learn this much before this much, and I haven't gotten this much. And I'm like, all right, breathe. Did you learn something today? Okay, right? And then they would say something. It's like, oh, hey, that's interesting. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Like, that's great. Now do that tomorrow and the day after. I know it's not your ideal pace and you can't get to a certain place, but worrying about that will kind of burn you out and bring you down so much quickly that you've already set in stone that it's going to fail. Right? So no need to talk about you-bish stuff. More or less, I mean, obviously you can say these things. It doesn't demotivate you. More like you're looking forward, you know, you're an excited and passionate language learner. And that's great. At least it sounds like you are looking and exploring language learning. There are definitely people who I've met that they're like, oh, just do this for the next 3 years and you're good to go. I'm like, I don't know what that thing is that you're gonna do for 3 years, but man, do I not do the same thing for 3 years straight. I think it's the weirdest aspect that I've encountered so far, that people expect that the way they learn when they start out is the way they're gonna stay learning when they finish, or whatever they reach their goal. You can go back to day 1 in my video with Duolingo, and it's not the same. It's a light years difference between how I go about my business in day 1 than I do now. And it's not going to look the same in another month or in 2 months. So learning is incredibly enriching, dynamic, and interesting. Making learning into a chore, grinding your gears, spinning the wheel in place, that sounds like a very dull life, right? If life is already dull like that for you, maybe a stranger's word encouraging you to breathe more life into your general routine may even boost the way you approach language learning. Right? You got to keep exploring, find things, make it exciting. And I think when people start, they already have that passion. I think people who are starting has that passion, yet a little farther down the line, there's a chance that passion subsides. It disappears for routine. And then that routine kind of sucks the life out of the stuff, going into 6 months and then a year. And then it became like, I reached a plateau with this method. It's like, if you knew, why didn't you go look for new things? Like, well, it was working all along, so you might as well keep doing the things. Like, yeah, you can still do that. You can continue doing the things that work. Yet, don't keep yourself from being excited, in my opinion. Go pick up a video game. If liking French makes you want to go eat French food, go to a French restaurant. Go to a French restaurant and read the menu and try to order something in French, right? Go buy, French pastries and then practice the pronunciation of French words. And you gotta find all the clever tricks in your book, right? Life skills are not going away anytime soon, so you gotta improve yourself every single day, right? Try to, and eventually I feel you'll have a lot of golden oldies. So when you run out of ideas, you can always go back to an older idea, and that idea will be so far there, it'll be maybe 5 years ago since you did this, and it'll be fresh again, at least in my opinion. That's kind of how human emotions work, how I perceive human emotions. That's why it's lovely when you see like a classic come back on or something. Nostalgia is pretty powerful too. What I say is, there's not a moment in my time when I'm learning a skill that I feel bored of what I'm doing. So I'm not bored of getting on stream and doing this. It might kind of look the same on the surface, like, someone who stops by and look at me for 5 minutes and say, oh, this guy's been doing the same thing for the last 260 days. It's like, well, you saw 5 minutes. It probably looks the same in 5 minutes. I mean, I'm staring at the screen for more than 5 minutes. I'm not doing the same thing. I could sit here and watch the paint dry literally in my body, and I'll be thinking about hundreds of things, right? Constantly thinking about hundreds of things. Things are interesting when you make it interesting, at least, in my opinion. So ask yourself, can you make anything interesting? That would be a fantastic challenge. I don't think people can be stopped when they are interested. And that is something that you can invest in that isn't only relevant to language learning. And that, to me, you will be, I think people have a great intuition when they meet someone who is particularly happy with all the things they do, right? When when someone comes to you randomly and tells you, dude, I don't know how you do it. Why would you spend 8 hours on Duolingo every day? Doesn't that get boring? I think that's a great example of when you made it. Because on the surface, it might be, it really is. I mean, I don't blame anyone to think that I'm doing the same thing every day for the last 200 plus days, but I assure you, I am not thinking the same thing, and I'm not doing the same. I generally bring a story with me each day. So every evening, I consume some Japanese or Chinese content or some language related content, and I bring a story to me. I put it in my back pocket every day before I start streaming. And whenever the one stranger or two comes by, I'll break out that story, or I'll break out my tangent or my thought on it. And that's kind of where all my extra runtime comes from. So over time, I have hundreds, maybe even thousands of rants and stories that I can share. And it'll be interesting, right? And lots of people may argue like, oh, but what if you have to answer the same question every single day? It's because streamers answer the same question every day. It's like, you bet I'll give you a different answer every single time. Like, what I mean by that is the essence of the answer will be the same. However, the way I deliver it, the examples I use will be different. Because I know I met enough people in my life, consumed enough YouTube and whatnot, actively taking in that information. So one day when someone says, yeah, I really love knitting, I got a story for that too. Or like dogs, cats, languages I don't know. How do you ask and be interested in Arabic if you know no Arabic? That kind of thing. I think genuinely getting people to be interested in sharing goes a long way for motivation. If you are happy and excited to share what you learn in French every single day, and you have someone who encourages you to want to share and talk about the things you learn every day, learning becomes effortless, in my opinion. Not everyone has that feeling though. There's insecurities, social anxiety, awkwardness. And then speaking a language is socially awkward already. In fact, I think one of the most predominant gates and barriers to learning a language is actually overcoming social anxiety that the internet has not addressed, because you don't need to talk to anyone directly anymore. Comment indirectly and whatnot. And one of the biggest barriers to language learning is getting the most reward, the final output, right? So to a lot of people, speaking the final output. You don't have to be fully fluent to speak, in my opinion. You can be here shouting French words at me, and that's great. Like, if you shout a French word at me and I ask you, can you explain that to me, and you do it, it doesn't matter if you taught me anything or shared with me anything. You yourself is doing it. So why not stream your study sessions, right? I could be completely wrong about the things that I'm recording and stuff. I can look back and I'm like, oh, okay, so that's what I thought about before. I literally use my own videos. I've structured my videos where my summary is in the beginning and my like mnemonic device and stuff is in the end. So on the previous day, instead of journaling now, which I used to journal everything, outline my, look, I do it live. I do it live, then I look back on the video. And one day I could like montage all the beginning, like make a montage of all the beginning parts, and you'll probably be able to collect, you know. Right now, you know, the 2,500 words I know in Japanese, it's somewhere in those videos. Do I know all of them? Probably not. Am I worried? No. Because I get on every day and I like it. It's awesome. Other people will argue with me. That's awesome too. They'll correct me. That's fine as well. I mean, most of the time the people don't like my response or my reaction. That's also fine because that's part of the experience. Every day, or at least I try every day. And hopefully other language learners find that secret sauce, a secret balance where they're not socially awkward or always feel like it's effort. It requires effort to want to speak their target language. I have no qualms with randomly throwing Japanese words in, you know, like right now I could cringeworthy. I know some people find it a little cringeworthy. If you're not cringing, it's not a problem, right? Throw in some Japanese, throw in some Chinese here and there. Like, oh, you're going to the mise. Okay. What did you kau? I see. So you got cupcake and steaky. Oh, that's really good. How are you gonna yakimasu? Or, you know, maybe some sauce. What kind of dressingu are you going to suru? That kind of thing, right? And just throwing it in. Whichever word can come up while you're using your native language, or whichever, right? 你不知道说什么 just use the language that you already have, and then you 勉強する more, and you might eventually get to the point where you're just throwing in words where you think the words are, and then at some point you can fill it all in if you want, right? 多分 perhaps, right? Probably. If you're not red in the face when you're doing that, good to go. If you're red in the face, live it up, right?
Well,
Let's see. All right, we're gonna get back to the lesson. Okay, I have not been to that. Whoa. Hmm. 去过，我去过那家中国饭馆 ，right？我还没有，我 actually 我没去过那家中国饭馆。
机场离这里远吗？
机场离这里远吗？
不远，你可以走路去那里。
Oh yeah, good night. Thanks for sharing. I need to head out. Hope to see you soon. I hope to see you soon. No obligations, right? No obligations. Just catch up anytime. Do me a favor. If it's a month down the road, 2 months, a year, keep a story or two for me and explain it to me. I want to be like, I'm excited to hear what you're excited about. So definitely, yeah, take care. It doesn't have to be soon, right? Good luck with everything. Thank you for your company. Have a great one.
不远，你可以走路去那里。
不远。
不远
不远，你可以去路 what？
不远，你可以走路去那里。
你可以走路去那里。
那里
Not far, you can walk there.
医院离这里远吗？
医院离这里吗？记得wait, didn't we do this one? Oh no, we swapped it up. 医院离这里远吗？From here.
我们去上学吧。
我们去上学吗？上学吧。Let's go to school.
我们一起去吃午饭吧。
OK， 我们一起去吃午饭吧。午饭吧。
你的西班牙语水平提高了。
水平提高了。你的西班牙英语 no 西班牙语music 你的西班牙语水平提高了。Your Spanish has improved or proficiency has improved.
电影几点开始？
电影几点？几点？电影几点开始？OK， 你的西班牙语水平提高了。
你的
西班牙
语
水平呢？水平
提高了。
下个星期我们一起看电影吧。
下个星期我们一起看电影吧。Contraction. 写
瓶子
时间
刀
一起电影 I start with 电影 maybe like 5点 no 电影5点开始。
电影5点
wrong tone 电影5点开始。因为新鲜为什么？开始爱好
酒店离饭馆太远了。
酒店里酒店里太晚了。No way
酒店离饭馆太远了。
饭馆太远了。饭馆太远
了。
All right，
准备好了吗？
我没有准备。
我没有准备。
准备。
我不喜欢吃面条。面条。房间。Whoops, that was the wrong tone. My bad. 房间。
因为苹果
面条。鸡蛋。
我明天不能上美术课。
我明天不能上美术课。Oh, I just realized. Oh yeah, I forgot. Who has that little dot? 我明天不能上美术课。
我不想要请他们去骑马。
我不想要请他们去yeah 去骑马 OK 我不想要请他们去骑马
我想请你们来我的家吃午饭。
OK
我
想请你们来我家来我的家 No
的
Yes Oh
我
他们你们来我的家
吃的
我的家吃午饭 maybe 吃晚饭
吃午饭。我想请你们来我的家吃午饭。
我的公司不让我请假。
我的公司不让我请假。我请假。我不能像我明天不能像不能像美术课
我明天不能上美术课。快一点上车吧。
我们现在要像火车。
我们现在要上火车。
我们什么时候出去吃饭？
我们什么时候出去吃饭？eat out? When will we go to eat out? Jeez. When will we go to eat out? Oh. No! Go out to eat! Oh my gosh. Heck in English. It's always English. When did I go to school? 什么时候他们去学校 ？No? That kind of sounds right.
什么
时候？哦，
他们
什么时候去学校？
放学。
Oh, that's
放学，上学。
Oh, 上学。Oh, okay. That's yeah. Go to school, as in getting to school, not going to a school. Fair enough.
昨天晚上他请了我跳舞。
昨天晚上他请了我跳舞。
嗨，
Oops.
嗨，他，昨天晚上
我
我
他请了我
跳舞。
我们什么时候出去吃饭？
When will we? English, devastating. I know. English is absolutely devastating.
他突然离开了，我们不知道为什么。
他突然离开了。我们不知道为什么。OK。
新经理下个月来吗？
星期理新经理
下个月
来吗？
妈，新经理下个月来吗？
他忘了今天有重要的会议。
他忘了今天有重要的会议 wrong tone on the 会对不起 I always start with 对不起 but that's fine 我们没有我们没有办法我们没有办法对不起 right
我们
没有办法
对不起。
李先生，这是王小姐。
李先生，这是王小姐。李先生，这是王小姐。中，请相信我，我可以解决，请
相信，
请相信我，我可以解决。Did I write? Yeah, I did. Write that today.
王先生，认识你很高兴。
王先生，认识你很高兴。Wait, 王先生 It is a pleasure to meet you. Yeah, 认识你很高兴。Oh, or the other way around.
结法图相结法结法结图相。
This problem be solved. 这个问题能这个问题喂这个问题解决吗？ Right?
这个
这个问题
解决
解决吗？能解决吗 ？Can solve? Yes.
我一会儿会跟同事吃晚饭。
我一会儿会跟我一会儿会跟同事
吃晚饭。我一会儿会跟同事吃晚饭。
Next one.
长城很长，故宫很大。
长城很长，长城很长，故宫很大。
长城
很长，
故
宫很大。
长城很长，故宫很大。
长城很长。Okay. Oh, this was a weird one.
中国
的 Oh no, not this one actually. This one's fine. 中国的黄河很有名有名黄河很有名
黄河很有名
很有名。There's too much 很中国的黄河很有名Oh no, screwing up my tone. Okay, hold on. 很有名中国的黄河 Was that not two? 黄河 Yeah. 中国的黄河很有名。Oh, I missed a vocabulary word. 世界 I missed that. 世界 Okay.
那只熊猫多么可爱呀！
那只熊猫多么可爱呀！
他下个月去西安工作。
他下个月去西安工作。
江长城像什么动物？
长城像什么动物？
长城像什么动物？
Oh, I forgot about 像。
长城像什么动物？长城像什么动物？
What animal does the Great Wall of China look like? That doesn't make any sense. What the heck? Alright, we're just gonna go along here.
公这个游戏多么贵呀！
这个游戏多么贵呀！多么贵呀！
熊
熊 ，oops，
江
阿
绝
公，
长江比黄河长吗？
长江比黄河长吗？长吗 ？OK。What the? Am I a pep or did I miss? Am I missing a river? Oh. Oh, I guess you could just refer to it as the Yangtze. Oh, wait. Or is it a duplication? That's an English problem. I disagree. You need river in both cases. The heck with you, Duolingo.
界
Yeah.
河
江
绝
是
现在谁是世界上最高的人？
That's such a low blow. I would repeat river twice. That's BS. 现在谁是世界上像最高的人？
长江比黄河长吗？
All right. Okay.
新经理下个月来吗？来
新经理下个月来吗？
下个月来吗？
重
今天多么冷啊
！OK，
今天
多么冷啊！多么冷啊！And that sounds weird.
长江比黄河长吗？
长江比黄河长吗？Can't escape it.
河
界乡市江。
我一会儿会跟同事吃晚饭。我一会儿
会跟我一会儿会跟
同事吃晚饭。
Right?
绝法乡重
星星熊猫
藏相信
可怕。
世界有名的地方有什么？
世界有名的地方有什么？This one's 有名的。Yeah. 对。你最爱的，你最爱的动物是什么？或者你最爱什么？你最爱什么动物 ？Maybe
你
最爱什么动物？
动物。
你知道长江在哪儿吗？
你知道长江在哪儿吗？sort of. Do I not need the duh? That's kind of weird. It's the Yangtze River, man. I totally disagree.
你要
你要你要相信我你要相信你自己，
相信
你自己。
都
Just kidding. 他是世界上最有钱的人。
你知道长江在哪儿吗？
I hate you. Okay. All right. Ooh, we're back to talking about hobbies. That'll be kind of fun. All right. 15 minutes in a dream. I don't think we're gonna complete. We're gonna try to not overextend too far, right? 同学 probably 同事 right 同学 right
同事
学了
故事同学
Uh-oh. 留学
同事同学
事情同事学校学生
自己 all right
自己
yes
自己去过
oh no
经过
okay yeah
经历
经过
已经
去过
经常经理
经过。
经理。
Didn't realize I had so many
经
of
过
them. 经过。
经过。经理。
经常。已经。经过。地理。经理。
自己。
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 自己。自己。自己。
自己。
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 地理。
经
理。地理。
经常。地理。
地铁。
地铁。
地铁站。
经理。
经理。
经
理。
地理。
地理。
地经理。
理。
地理。
地理课。
经理。经过。
地铁。地理。
自己。
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 地理课。
地理课。
经理。地理课。
经常。
美术课。地理课。
经理。
科学
课。
经
理。
地理课。
地理课。
地理课。经理。
科学课。
经过。
地铁站。
经理。
地
理课。办法。解决。解决。办法。解决。
最想。
最想。
到了。
解决。
往右。
办法。
办法。
办法。办法。愿意。解决。
不是。往左。
办法。
解决。
告诉我吧。解决。吃过。吃过。
办法。解决。
不做。
不做。
请等。
请等。
办
法。
法。
知道。
知道。
办法，
办法，
往后，
往后，
往右，
往右，
解决。
嗯，哦，
脚，
对，
解决，
脚，
解，
脚，脚，
解决，
Don't remember
解决，
用，
Okay, that's 用 right? That's fine.
洗澡，
洗脚，洗脚，
解决，脚，
哦，打脚 ，no, is it?
上
上网，
解决，
脚，脚，
解决 ，Where is it?
这次，
Oh no! Oh, it is that 脚 OK. 这次 OK.
打网球，
用，
用
解决，脚，
脚，
Yeah.
这次，
这次
脚，
脚
解决，
解决
上网，
让我
打网球，
解决，
haven't used that in a while as well.
法国，
法国，
办法，
办法，法国，
国，法国，
韩国菜，一克，
办法，
办法，
法国，
法国，
法国，办法，
办法，
法国，
美国人，
拉面，
拉面，
Oh, I forgot about 拉面. That's the same law. Oh, is it? Oh no, it's not the same law. Oh, that's interesting. Wait, did I use the wrong? I think I might have. I'll double check that.
韩国菜，
办法，
I think I might have written the incorrect la in la G.
办公室，
室 Yeah, 办法，办公室，
教室，
室，教室，教室，
办法，邻居，公司，办公
室，
办
法，办法，
办公室，
办公室，
办公室，办法，
办法，教室，办公室，前面，公共，世界，
世界，世界，
世界，
All right,
世界，
no
世界
surprises outside of
世界，
their
世界，
they weren't lining up. The hat,
世界，
世界，
oops,
世界，
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 嗯 ，OK，
世界，
Oops，
世界，
no
世界
surprises，
世界，
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 What? Oh,
世界，
you got me.
世界，
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 黄河，
黄河 ，OK， 黄河，
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 哎，
世
世界，
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 Hey there, Charms. Ooh, that's a late
长
day.
江
How are you doing? 长江，长江，
长
长江，
长江，
长
Oh,
江，
did you just get up?
长江，
Or are you still up?
长江，
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 Oh, 8-hour never went to stream.
长江，
How was it?
长江，
I'm doing pretty well.
长江，
I'm burning the midnight oil right now. We got some good discussions today, so I'm a little bit behind, but we're like 10 minutes away from the end here. Wait, how are you? How was the Neverwinter stream? 相信
相信，
会议，
会议相信
会议，公司，明白，相信，同事，
会议，会议，相信，
会议，
会议
相信，一定，机会，
约会，
约会，会议，
相信，
相信，校长，会议，发现，相信，公司，
会议，
会议，
经理，同事，
上来，
相信， 会议.
You made it to level 27? Well, that's solid. 8 hours. You must have had some great conversations, Charms. Oh, since Jorwell got invited back to your old guild and your best friend May gave you a bunch of gears? Yeah, that's nice. Awesome. And you have an old mate who still plays. What a way to welcome back. Obviously, what do you mean 27? It doesn't even go up to 27, Charms. You silly goober. I'm playing D&D now. It only goes up to level 20. And it's quest based. You know? Like ye old good, ye old good. Oh, I said 27. Oh, my bad. Did I really say 27? My bad. I meant 7. Imagine being level 27 in a level 20 game. Man, broken. That would be massively broken. That's I don't know much about D&D, but I know that each level is incredibly like a big leap in like the paper pencil game, right? And when you get to like, if you ever even get to level 20, it's like you start being able to mold the entire universe or something, because it escalates really high in like the paper pencil thing. Like the abilities you get become like universe changing. It takes like I don't know, years campaign to get to level 20. I remember it was pretty interesting. Like they, you know, D&D is a serious business. I'm not going to try to trivialize and understand all that said. However, I did watch like a bit of a clip of this content creator who talked about like why level 20 and like all that stuff, because at some point the way it's rewarded is usually campaigns don't last that long, right? So you start wielding godly magic and abilities by the time you reach level 20 before the campaign ends. I think I recently watched someone's video where they finally ended their campaign after 7 years or something. D&D people, you do not mess with D&D people. Their campaigns are like drama, full-length drama shows, you know? And it goes without saying that, what is my segue? Let's not forget that Matt Mercer and co, you know, Critical Role in their show, what is it called? Vox Machina? But Vox Machina is still going, and it's a chronicle of like some of their campaigns put together. So that show is still going for, I think it's on its 3rd season or something. Yeah, D&D campaign, no joke. No joke. People love writing and stuff. Practically a novella, you know, interactive novella. I haven't ever engaged in D&D, so I really don't know. I do, some of my close friends had like been in the campaign for like a year or 2 years. It's kind of a really interesting pastime to live like a second life, or so to speak, like a second life in which it is not virtualized. However, one could say MMORPGs is the digital version of that, right? You log in, the avatar is you play the role of a gamer who can choose to role play their character or not, that kind of thing. And then the system itself limits your ability to role play, right? If you're a mage, you're chucking spells, that kind of thing. You know, coming from the idea that I say it's no joke, and yet I played Neverwinter for over 10 years. So, or at least had some attachment to Neverwinter for over 10 years. You wrote out a character sheet for your first D&D game, but it never happened. I looked at a character sheet, or like a different Pathfinder, a game that was based on the Pathfinder, which is like an off branch of the D&D rulebook. And I thought about starting. That was a different time though, and it didn't happen because schedule conflicts. Back when I was doing more Neverwinter stuff, like Neverwinter content creation stuff, and I met a bunch of other people who used to play Neverwinter, and then they on the side they streamed like paper and pencil things, like based on like maybe 5th edition or something like other games that an offshoot that are based on 5th edition. Yeah, I read the manual though. I read the manual of one of those games. Schedules didn't line up. Typical, yeah, D&D struggles. Yep. You got to be really committed, right? It has to be part of your lifestyle. Like language learning. That's what I talked about today. That's why I'm 3 hours behind on my schedule. Usually I try to end like before midnight EST because my voice doesn't hold up. So it's already very noticeable. Yeah, so this is the end of mine. So I'm heading out today as well. Glad to hear that you're enjoying your return back to Neverwinter. I stand by what I said to Miles, right? Once you get to 20, it's like chilling. You log in like 30 minutes a day, complete whatever campaign you want on a whim, but really if you complete the random queues, you're already up to date and you're like slamming into the most recent dungeon. It's a live service game. They make the process of catching up to the current state as soon as possible, because what keeps the player coming back is their loose regular relationship with, you know, the modules. And nowadays some people were worried that just as a little side note on Neverwinter, there were a lot of rumor milling about, oh yeah, so now, you know, Embracer Group sold something and then whatnot, will Neverwinter close down or something. And there was a message that was released that, yeah, at least not for the next 3 modules. So we got another solid year, I suppose. Neverwinter coming and got another solid year. I look at Neverwinter so different. You look at Neverwinter so differently now. It's a way funner TBH. Yeah. I looked at Neverwinter the post World of Warcraft days. You know, the post World of Warcraft days. So I'm gonna be real. There isn't much chiller than that. Okay, there was this time when, after World of Warcraft, there was this time that I played a game called Atlantica Online, and I legitimately was basically, my laptop was a crypto generator. What I mean by that is I left my laptop on because it was one of the first Korean MMOs where you had auto crafting as a normal combat, like a normal game mechanic. So it encouraged you to leave your laptop and your computer on non-stop. Like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go to bed now. You just command the auto crafting and you leave the you leave your avatar on making progress, making XP. It was ridiculous. So it's like World of Warcraft was at a 9. And then I was introduced to the first Korean MMO, right? One of my first Korean MMOs. And then like it got cranked up, you know? It got cranked up to 10. And then I played my first gacha game on my phone. And sure enough, I'm that guy who wants to like free play it, right? The free to play guys. And it was easily one of the most time-consuming things I've done. It's to the point where I made it a lifestyle. Here's what I do. Like when I'm sleeping or reading something, I would remember my right hand and sometimes my left hand will remember the button presses on how to farm. So it would be like I'm doing work, but I would be tapping the sequence of my hand even when I'm like taking a nap, I would be tapping the sequence of my hand to farm more things. Like I didn't spend anything on the gacha game. The idea was, oh, can this be done where you can be competitive with the pay to win, right? Because it's gacha. So gacha back in the early days, nowadays gacha is kind of blended in with live service games. So you either spend 30 days and a day to keep up with the content, or you fork over the money, right? Constantly fork over the money. So it's kind of like a balance nowadays. The early days of gacha games, they were aggressive, like incredibly aggressive. So I was playing this particular game, which I mentioned before, and oh man, I just think back, it were I even like I was even tapping it while I was in the meeting and like at a seminar. Like it was automatic. Like my hand was, I don't know. That was some intense times. That was cranked up to 12. That phone was latched to my hand, right? My phone was constantly plugged in and for battery. And then, you know, then Neverwinter happened and I'm like, oh, okay. Rarely do things get that bad, right? WoW was pretty cranked up though. It was during college and really cranked, over cranked. These days, I see, coming from my little perspective, I feel live service models, I'm good with live service models. The way other kids are approaching live service models is pretty much how I expect my younger self doing. Oh, you'll have that same muscle memory with Rocket League and Siege. I could leave it for 100 years and come back and still remember how to play it. Yeah, but listen. Now imagine if it's attached to your phone, and no matter what, you're always carrying your phone, so your hand is always actively fidgeting for that. So it's gotten to the point where when I was studying, I deliberately had my hand fidget in that pattern because, you know, if I'm gonna fidget anyways, you know, I bounce a lot and like move my feet a lot when I'm seated. But if I'm gonna do that, I might as well just tap and farm on. That's what happened. That's the worst of the worst gacha. So I've had one instance bouts of all the different transitions of like effectively behavior dopamine blast. And nowadays, you know, carbing, all of that. It's still there. I can assure you relapse is very strong. Discipline, lots of discipline and quality of life, executive function things. Like right now, the least I can do is focus on language learning. Technology, what have you done? Yeah, now I resist. So a lot of times I learn from the technology and try to discipline myself, understanding my relationship with technology. You mentioned about collecting goes a long way too. Before all of that, even before WoW, it was Magic the Gathering, MTG, right? And my family is not really well to do, right? And then before that was console gaming. Yeah, life really gives you enough experiences though. I'm pretty grateful on how life turned out so far and how I'm managing these things. I do feel that with that experience, it's quite poetic when I listen to people's relationship with video games and skill building and motivation and whatnot, like why they don't like school when they were younger. A lot of this translates. So I tend to revisit my childhood figuratively all the time. It wasn't that long ago that I was addicted to gacha game. Maybe like 9 years ago. You were just talking to one of your homies about MTG? Yeah, I figured. It seems like and those things are related. Anyways, we'll catch up later, Charms. I'm gonna head out. gotta do a few things. Today I had a late start because Black Friday started. You know, like a week in advance Black Friday because of Americana, and I got pretty deep and finally did some quality of life purchases. I'm kind of excited. Well, I'll talk about it a little bit more in the future. For now, I'm gonna head out. I'm glad to hear that you had a really chill time. Hopefully, you continue to have chill times, right? Don't go too hardcore. Got so much life ahead of you. You know, find that vibe, self-improve each day. No worries. Yeah, it was good catching up. Yeah, it's almost 8 a.m. there. I know how it goes. I still got like 3 to 4 hours of some stuff that I need to get done. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I'll catch you later. Yeah. Alright folks, that's a wrap. Had a really nice little conversation at the end. It's always nice to end with a little bit of banter. There you have it. Tomorrow is going to be new vocab day for Chinese, so look forward to it. The end for 165. If you're going to watch this later, 谢谢. So 下次见. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. I'll catch everyone on the next one. Bye bye.